crazy.
All right. All right. All right. Ba with a ba, da bang, diggy, 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 said the boogie, said up, drop the boogie. Ba with a ba, da bang, diggy, 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 said the boogie, said jump, up, jump the boogie. In the words of the great Kid Rock, welcome to Topicocalypse Rebooted.
First of all, though, can we talk about with that intro that Kid Rock has now decided not to perform at all in New York?
Yeah, well, didn't they tell him he couldn't? It's the same thing. I know there's like a joke article floating around California, but what happened in New York with Kid Rock? I was in and out of that.
Yeah, he said he doesn't play for communist.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm confused, guys. All right, like, okay,
Josh, Dad's asleep.
I'm not asleep. I was playing.
Anyway, he said he doesn't play for communists, and he's like, "I'm out." That's the word that I got.
So what is going on, man? Is Mamdani or whatever his name is he actually a communist? They said his meeting with Trump went all right. What is the deal here?
I don't know. I have not seen anything on that. I know that he ran on a communist platform, but to what extent, I have seen very little of his actual campaign.
He comes from a wealthy family.
Yeah, which is ironic, I guess, right?
Maybe not as ironic as it would seem.
So, big question here: do kids nowadays know what communism is? Do they?
No, they don't. They don't teach it. They don't teach it
like what is the appeal? Like, oh, hey, I get free stuff that other people have to work for. I mean, I guess that's kind of how liberalism works too. But
well, it's essentially it's that they feel like they should not have to work and then be given everything by the people who have things. And so that's kind of it. They just want stuff. They want to be lazy. They want to get a college degree that's like stick twirling 101 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, so they
don't realize that they shouldn't have got that degree.
I saw an interview with somebody on the NYU campus, and they're asking why do you want to vote for what is Mamdani, right? Was that his name? How am I pronouncing that correctly?
I think so.
We can roll with it.
They asked why you're voting for him, and they're like, well, he's just the most logical choice. And like, why? And she says, because I get free things.
Yeah, that's essentially it.
Yeah.
Right.
There also wasn't another candidate that generated any interest or enthusiasm.
You would have voted for Cuomo again? You don't like having one of the Cuomo brothers in power?
Probably didn't really resonate with people. No.
Yeah, there was something about sending COVID virus into old folks' homes that just didn't settle right.
That's
who would do that? Oh yeah.
Trust issues with them. That's weird.
Going to the barber without your face mask on, and running outside without being 6 feet distance.
Yeah, or don't go near your family members on Thanksgiving. They can eat on the other side of the glass, right?
Yeah.
Who said that? That was Fauci, right? Fauci said that. He told us not to go near our family members for Christmas.
The guy who didn't do anything but got pardoned somehow for something.
Yeah. Whoa! We can't talk about that. We're in blacklisted. All right, everybody. Welcome to Topicocalypse, the only podcast on the internet. There's no other place to get news, so you might as well just tune in. We're hoping to reach a point where we can do a 24/7 news cycle where we just sit around and talk about why all the other news stations are lying. All right. And we won't talk about the other podcasts because we're the only one. Joe Rogan's just a figment of your imagination. Everyone else, Rachel Maddow and everybody else, they don't exist. You hallucinated that. Welcome back to the only podcast on the internet. I'm your revered or reviled host. And I'm joined here by dyed in the wool history. So dyed is plural, right? You died already in the wool.
Yeah, I died in the wool. Yeah, for real. And
real.
Also joined here by James the Elder, who is down here, right? If you're looking at the Brady Bunch window.
Now you got to turn your finger a little bit.
But I'll be pointing at the corner of the screen here.
I'm pointing at. Well, it must be different on my screen. Yeah, we can.
You're right here.
Right there. Woo!
Right down here. Okay, yeah, we're gonna be joined here by Big Dog here in a minute as soon as he gets his microphone situation worked out. That always happens, right? When you're ready to go, your mic stops working. That's the joy of being a podcaster that's not backed by a big network, guys. All right, so yeah, we're not celebrities. All right, we're just average people talking about things we have no control over. Okay, so today,
Israel might call you, Josh.
hey, I'm
Have some money for you.
I'm ignorant. You guys are the experts. All right,
Yeah, but you're having an awakening. I can
Yes.
tell that when I talked to you yesterday.
let's get into this. All right, like I eventually we'll talk about we'll have a non-political topic, but there's just so many things happening in the world today that is just like it's crazy. It's crazy.
So many good things, not
You're
good things, but like good
if-
things to talk about.
If you're not processing, like truly processing what's going on in the world, then you there's yeah, you're a little too trusting of things. All right, so Candace Owens has been in the news a lot lately, and she has been saying a lot of things, and a lot of people are disagree. It's created a faction amongst, I guess, what you call like the conservative right. It's created this faction of a split, a schism, if you will, of people who are like, oh yeah, she's full of crap, and the other ones are like, oh, this is big, guys, this is big. So
I wouldn't even say a disagreement. I'd say you have people who actually listen and are, at least accepting what she's saying, and then you have the other ones who are throwing a tantrum right now.
so here's a weird thing. All right,
They
so
ask questions.
this is it's weird, right? Because you have the different branches of conservatism. You have the Christian media on one side, right? And I'm almost starting to get to the point where I feel like they're bought and paid for too, because every piece of Christian conservative media that I've seen talk about Candace Owens have said that, and this is the typical thing, right? With when you argue with any Christians about anything, right? Is the fact that like if they don't understand it and they don't want to argue about it, but they want to be right about it, they'll call it demonic. That's that's their go-to. And then you have the and then if they're not, leaning towards that side, they're just like on the side of like, oh, they're part of the big right-wing media machine. So all these people are getting their information from people who either don't want to ask the questions or are just trying to I don't know, get people to believe that.
Well, no, they're trying not to, or they're trying to have nobody ask questions, right? They don't want anybody to ask questions. They're sitting there going, what can we do to make sure that what Candace is saying, nobody asks and we never have to respond, right? Like if you look at it, there was this, like we went back to the idea that people are like passing off that, actually Turning Point was passing off that like Charlie was a prophet and it was about Jesus. And the whole thing is they diverted any questions about it. And then they made it like some kind of blind revival movement, like, oh, let's talk about Jesus instead. It could be perfect for bringing people to Protestantism, which then they could, become good Puritans. And then that's a voting base and supporters for Zionism. Right.
A lot of
they didn't want anybody to ask questions, though. That was and if you listen to Candace's last, podcast, it's the clips that she showed is not last one, a couple of them ago, right? The clips that she showed were like perfect examples. They didn't want anybody to ask questions. And then, you look at the Erica Kirk and Jesse Waters, interview, I think day before yesterday, where it was like, they still were avoiding asking any questions at all.
The clip of Mikey McCoy's dad in Israel, I forget his name, but in Israel, taking these softball setup questions from Israeli reporters, it was just so reminiscent of what evangelical Christianity, dispensationalism, has how they've always handled any sort of dissent. You're stupid and you're evil, and now let's move on.
Yeah,
because they don't want you to, instead of answering your question, they seek to discredit you.
They discredit and erase you. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's easier for them to do that, right? Because if you ask more than one question, then you could, trump them, like a better word, right? And then all of a sudden you start going down a trail where their inability to answer a question then brings up more questions, and by the end of that, conversation, it's like you'll have some kind of answer that they don't want you to know.
Very few of these people are intelligent at all or educated. With Eastern Orthodox and Catholics, you have some really highly educated people, but on the evangelical side, especially with the Calvary Chapel sorts, which Candace Owens was really focusing heavily in on, these are not people that are intelligent and educated in things that relate to history or theology or stuff of that nature.
So I guess this is something I wanted to talk about. First of all, let's give a little background. Give a little background. Justin, if you would mind, on what's going on with Candace Owens right now.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Dad probably keeps up with her every day, but as from what I've seen, which has been pretty interesting, is that she has been kind of attacking these people at Calvary Chapel. Not attack. I won't say attacking. I'm sorry. Focusing on these people at Calvary Chapel who have been kind of the more corrupt in this movement, the ones who you can connect to the turning point. Like I think Rob McCoy, right?
He's the Calvary Chapel guy. Is that?
Yeah, Rob McCoy,
Yeah,
right?
Rob
Yeah.
McCoy, and then Lou Taylor, right? And then kind of the MK Ultra, which is so interesting. Danny Jones, if you're listening, you might want to have Candace on there. She knows a few things about your MK Ultra that you're trying to figure out, right? But it's moved from there to tracking these planes. So showing the hostile takeover, which was her connection, right? She's showing the hostile takeover and how they operated through like these wealthy individuals, and then then she moved into kind of like, look, let's connect the dots here. You have this guy working at Turning Point, and really like the next day, if that Charlie Kirk, the Charlie Kirk show went live, Rob McCoy was on there reading these like stupid Bible verse passages that didn't really make any connection there, other than like, hey, don't ask or say a thing, right? Just send us money and we'll take care of it.
So was Rob McCoy the one that said that he was Charlie Kirk's pastor? Was that him, the same person?
Yeah, and he claimed like he was going to be America's pastor. He's a pastor of a Calvary Chapel in Thousand Oaks, California, and I connected in a couple other places too. But I think that's basically where he started from.
Right. But okay, so she was showing the connection between how they take over a company, and definitely what happens when you start to leave that group, because you had like this, she talked about Cobain and My Chemical Romance drummer, things like that. And then she brought up kind of the direction that Charlie was going.
Which was
about how like his plane was diverted to a different airport in Utah. They guys that don't normally go to the college campuses were somehow there that day. One of the guys took the film out the camera. And so she was kind of moving into that direction. Now I gotta get caught up some more, but that I left off on the planes and the Egyptian planes tracking, and then we had the infamous death threat by the French Legion and the joint operation with U.S. military bases in North Dakota.
So the I guess the interesting thing is, and again, like I don't know if anything, I don't know what's going on with all that stuff, right? Like it's I think that if I can't say if it's true or not, but I think the fact that everyone's like making a big deal out of the thing she's saying means that she's actually like maybe onto something. I guess that's got them scared.
Well, if they sent out a death threat, she's more than onto something. She's got it right.
So
right. If you have a bounty on your head, you've centered in and you have hit the right conversation. You're talking about it.
Yeah. So sorry, Dad. Tell me about the planes. Like, what's significant about the planes?
Okay, so the planes were Egyptian military planes, which doesn't necessarily mean they have all Egyptian people on them, and they would seem to shadow Erica Kirk's movements. The routes were Cairo, Paris, a rather odd place in Delaware where several of the three-letter agencies share an office building. And originally the story on that was that the plane was going there for maintenance, but that hangar didn't, the maintenance capability for that particular airplane at that facility had expired several years ago. So that was basically a lie. Then it went to Minot, North Dakota, which is, I've been there a bunch of times when I was younger, but it's basically an Air Force base. That's the town. The movements of the plane are very strange. She doesn't actually know who was on the plane. She doesn't know who was picked up or dropped off, but it's extremely suspicious. And then the other thing to draw attention to it is Turning Point has said a lot of things now that have been found to be wrong and or contradictory.
Yeah.
And the information about these planes is one of them. She definitely seems to be over the target with this.
So, okay. So what, I mean, I guess let's go back to the beginning. Why do you think what do you think was the interest in Charlie Kirk? I know we might've covered this before, just like clip.
No, I can take it first and Justin can elaborate on it, I suppose. Charlie Kirk had a great deal of money invested into him by Zionist backers. He was the Zionist voice to the youth. And the Israel First crowd is something that appeals to aging evangelicals, basically people my age or older, who grew up on the late great planet Earth, Russia is Gog, New Jerusalem's coming soon.
So they live through the MK Ultra stuff. Like this is what the kind of life they're used to.
Well, in a sense, I guess it was kind of like a giant psyop when I look back at the whole thing. But young people just aren't buying it, and I don't think they're gonna buy it because that got such a hold on people in a particular social context that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to sell. So Charlie Kirk was an attempt for Zionists to reach out to a younger crowd that they were losing, but it wasn't working. And he became increasingly aware of what was being done to him. And he was turning against Israel. And he was also turning away from evangelical Christianity to Catholicism. These are very important things. Catholics don't believe any of this dispensational eschatology that drove the Protestant evangelical churches since World War II. Go ahead.
No, I mean, that's just what I was going to say. Like, what is the significance? Like, why do you think he was shifting into Catholicism? Do you think it was because it was a religion that was less psychological or just had more logical sense? Because I know Candace Owens had converted to Catholicism too. Because
it makes for the individual and what Charlie was getting at as far as planting a good firm foundation for the West. It has better pillars, and the West was founded on essentially at the Catholic writings, right? Augustine and all them. So it's what Charlie was getting at. Ultimately, would be found in Catholicism. Protestantism just almost say it's just doo-doo, right? And so that movement, as long as he kept asking questions and kept seeking Jesus as first and finding pillars for society, right? The only way he was going to find that was through Catholicism. But if you move towards Catholicism and you have Zionist backers, right, you have a fundamental problem. You either meet death or you somehow get away unscathed.
It is a fundamental conflict because if you take the various evangelical churches, you trace it back in time, you wind up with Puritanism, and then Puritanism was a radical form of Protestantism that was kind of proto-Judaic. It developed out of interaction between people in East Anglia with Jewish traders and bankers, mainly in Amsterdam. It's almost a heavily Judaized belief system.
I would argue that they were just Jewish with a different name.
Okay.
No, but you're right. It was Judaism, but that's what I'm saying. It's like that's how close it was. I mean, you could. It's almost interchangeable, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, though, like Puritanism is probably one of the worst things that has ever happened to America because, I mean, that's like the foundation for a lot of the extreme forms of Christianity we have out there today. Like you're talking about, Dad, with the the people who are all into the eschatology and the this is how God works, and if you don't follow that, then you're gonna go to hell. That sort of belief.
Yeah.
And they make massive misuse of the Bible, emphasizing some things, interpreting in a particular way, completely overlooking others. I'm fine with having an intellectual debate, but anytime one person goes to such great lengths to make sure that the other side can't talk and that nobody listens to them, even you go, this is a battle that's not just being fought at high levels. Individual Facebook, people with small groups of followers and small network of people. You go on there, and you know this. You put on anything that questions Israel, and if you have more than 20 or 30 people look at that post, you're going to get some absolutely vehement, angry responses to you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, for them, it's a worldview, right? It's like if people question it, their ability to understand or know that they're going to heaven, right? Is
Yeah,
that it starts to break apart, right? If you start questioning Israel and you start pointing out the flaws in that narrative, people that have been raised on that, especially those that have been, hitting 70 right now, they're thinking as long as they believe in Israel, they're going to get to heaven, right? And as long as the end times come, they're going to be still standing because they're
yeah.
good to go. Um, and it's
You can't have Israel without Jesus, and you can't have Jesus without Israel.
yeah, even though there's no biblical foundation for any of that.
Absolutely none.
But hey, who am I to read the Bible? That'd be crazy,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. It's
Take what we want.
Israel away, you take away their eternal life.
Yeah, but does it though? I mean,
For them, it does. For
yeah,
normal people that
so-
understand what Jesus was trying to say, who was closer to Nietzsche than they were to
you know what's also strange. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine about this. Is that I guess the Baptist concept of heaven is interesting because, or the evangelical concept of heaven is interesting because you go. The idea is that you're going to live in eternity. Like there's no, you don't have a body, right? Or maybe you do have a body, but you're just like kind of just there. Like you don't have a wife. You don't like your relations are not what they were on Earth. And then, I was like, I was telling him like I don't know how what my thoughts are on that. And he goes, yeah. So, but yeah, he goes, I know I've thought about this too. He goes, you're basically according to these modern concepts, you're basically a spiritual vegetable. And I was like, yeah, exactly. Like there's got to be more to it than, what I was taught in Sunday school.
Well, that's the thing. That concept. That concept comes from Ezekiel, and that's where he kind of built up that new version of heaven, right? He was also the first person to be transported from a UFO to Jerusalem. But hey,
who Ezekiel? I thought Elijah was
well, no, Ezekiel did it on the chariot of fire, right? But that's the thing, though. That's completely it's new, even biblically. If you look at that, it doesn't start out that way. It was somebody created that the intellectual class of the exile created that one, and it doesn't make any sense. In fact, you can look at anybody that's understands the concept of the soul and the house, right? It's like that's not what happens.
So Danny Jones had someone on his podcast he was talking to about biblical stuff, and he always makes the point of like, hey, how do you try? I think it was Rep Luna, was that her name?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, Representative Luna. Yeah.
So he and she believes that all like the UAFs, right, unidentified aerial phenomena, is that what it's called? What do they call them? What's the government name for them for UFOs?
They keep changing. We can just call them UFOs.
Okay, so he was talking to her about, and she was saying that she thinks all the UFOs are basically like angels, like spiritual beings, and he started talking to her about the Bible, and he was like, hey, I've always had a hard time trusting about it because, like, look at how old it is and how many rulers have used it to manipulate people. So how do you know that these are actually like what was meant to be said, and how do you know what has or hasn't been changed over the years? And that's always my thought too, is like, how do we know? Like, we don't, like, even looking at something, and this is another topic for another time, but even looking at like the book of Genesis, right? Like, there was no written language for years and years and years. So so that was really just, anybody could say anything about what Genesis means.
We're kind of getting off on a different topic, but it's still not a bad one.
Yeah. No, well, like I said, we'll talk about that on another day. But I'm just kind of saying, like, the Bible, even like this weird like mixture of church and state that keeps happening in America. Like, it's the religion is still being used as like a sharpened dagger against people.
Yeah, that's because they ignore like the sources that Moses used and things like that, which is again a really fun topic to talk about. But
yeah, but I mean, look at Candace, the whole thing with Candace Owens, right? Like this is religious warfare, right? Or the people who are using the Zionist campaign, I guess, if that's what what you are saying is happening. Like, they're using religion to basically like silence her, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So we have the great game, and this is part of their strategy there, right? It's inherently religious, always has been, and always will continue to be until they fail, if they fail.
Yeah,
right. Always has been religious. They have been the chosen people of Israel for almost 400 years now. Right.
Well, they've been the chosen. That mindset's existed since the Jewish wars, and even farther back. But in the modern context, yes, 400 years.
Yeah, 400 years for what I would call the new commercial and legal elites.
Okay, so let me pose this question to you guys for the Zionist group, right? And the American elite, the politicians, all these people who are like, hail Israel. Like, what is the end game? What do they want? What does everybody want? Because, like, I think about power is exhausting to me, and I don't understand why people want it. So what is the end game?
They become like the gods. That's what they think.
And they think they're
the redeemers. Right.
Is that why
that's the fun? That's that Tikkun Olam concept where man reshapes the world, reforms the world, which kind of is the same thing as Fabian socialism, just said a little bit differently.
Yeah, but then that's exactly it. I mean, we start back over with creating, man for work and to, I guess, supply them with resources, funds, and everything else that they want. So this is power. It's divinity. Eternal life in their book.
Everything's like it's like everything is. There's like a supernatural desire for these people. Like, they want to be immortal, or they want to. We create our own gods, and those gods create us. It's all really crazy concepts to think about.
Yeah, a lot of the people, like the representatives that are on the payroll for AIPAC, and these people want power and money, but then you get to a little bit higher level. There's definitely a spiritual element to this, which is nihilistic.
Well, that's why it seems like they're almost counting on making it seem like the end time prophecies are coming true, because people will give them the power that they want over them.
Yeah.
They've been damn good at it, haven't they?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think though too, it's skepticism on their own part. I really believe this is that they're so fearful of say Europeans, right, from rising up, or even America, right? It's that they are still yet unsure if that's actually what will happen. Right. So they're going to great lengths to keep the only group that can challenge their power as down as possible. right? Because they know that if something shifts all of a sudden, and you have the Western Europeans, so to speak, start to rise up, wake up, then it's like, will it affect them? They understand that they do have a timeline and they have possibly an Achilles heel that could happen.
And honestly, at this point, nothing sounds unbelievable. I mean, if you have a group of Zionists or billionaires or are trying to kickstart the apocalypse, or they're like drinking the blood of like virgins or something because they want to live forever, that doesn't sound there was a time when I would be like, oh, that sounds crazy, but I mean, not really.
No, it doesn't, right?
Nothing,
it's like there's been a lot of weird stuff
crazy.
that happens in that circle.
Yeah. Okay, so back to Candace Owens. All right, so let's talk about explain to me like the thing with the Macrons. What is going on? I guess she said like the wife was a man. Like, give me some backstory on that.
She was interviewed. I didn't really follow that, what was going on. It didn't really make my radar things to look at closely. But what I've gathered now is there was someone that did a book called Becoming Bridget, who she featured, and then so a lot of her work in saying that Brigitte Macron was born a man and was actually, I believe, the one that initiated the whatever relationship they have with a much younger Macron. Anyway, it was based on his work, and I think he has a book out that you could get. So it seemed like it was an unconnected story, but then in her last podcast, she's saying that the Macrons had put a authorization out to kill her. So then we go back to the planes. So the plane had a stop in France and was using a French hangar at this Delaware facility. Does it mean anything? I don't really know, but she doesn't have what I say is the theory of the case, but she has an awful lot of interesting information that is not readily explained away.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask. I guess I got two questions here. One, why is it so important to her that she prove that Brigitte has a ding dong, and then how is this? Sorry, I don't know how to phrase that.
That's the real wiener, right? Oh,
yeah. So why? First of all, why is that important though? I mean, why does it matter if this is it like a national you broke the trust of France, or I don't know? It's just in the world we're living in. There's a lot of people like that. So
I think it's a glimpse into that ruling class and how weird and they're doing that kind of stuff up there, and you're sitting there going, it's like these are the people who we're supposed to follow.
It's about sex and when used as a means of control and also as a sort of ritualistic evil.
Yeah,
that's what she's drawing the alignment with anyway. And again, I someone could say that's crazy, but there are a lot of things that seem crazy that.
But here's the connection, by the way, with the Olympics, right? We talked about they called it the perversion of the Last Supper, but actually it was the Feast of Dionysus, right? Yeah. So, and Yahoo, right, or Yahoo, in Near Eastern is actually that's their version of Dionysus, right? So if you go to this ruling class and who they're supposed to follow, their god, right? It theoretically lines more up with Dionysus and the Bacchus. Right. So that's where this is going. And she's showing that that's kind of that lines up, which is why you had that awkward Feast of Dionysus. And you have Brigitte with the ding dong, as Josh says. You see it go along because what would happen is that's part of it, right? They would once once a man turned to that, they were given a woman's kit, right? And you were supposed to do those things. That was it.
Are you talking about in
mythology, right? Is you were given a women's kit, and this is this was the fun thing about Amon Hillman's interview with Danny Jones, because he talked about this. That's what you're given, That's how you did the Bacchus shout. You
Okay,
became-
well, I'm confused. What is that?
But
What
that's
is
part. No, that's what I'm saying. That's part of it. That's where you go. The Bacchus shout is the followers of Dionysus, right? If you look at, and so what she's showing there is Dad's right. It's the sex and control. It's the you become so, and I wouldn't say enamored, addicted, whatever, right? To that's how they control people. Which
Yeah,
is why you see Western civilization falling apart to that same
a
concept.
big portion? Yeah, I was gonna say a big portion of what's going on in the United States right now, but also like the and there's a whole topic for another
The
time.
United States, I mean, the national anthem is a redone version of an ode to Bacchus. That's the original song is ode to Bacchus.
Well, I mean, look at what was all the stuff that was in the Epstein files, right? Like, I'm sure there's a lot more the public doesn't know, but it's that same
What
yeah,
files?
yeah, right. But it's like we're living.
What files again?
Yeah,
We're living in a world that's depicted, or that is almost a mirror of what is depicted in like those the Roman epics like Spartacus. It's just in 300 or Greek in the Greek site 300. It's all just like debaucherous, gross things.
the lady boys of Athens, right?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Okay. My other question here is, okay, what do the Macron? So she's saying it was the I guess the taking out the assassination of Charlie Kirk was a multi-nation thing. So is she hinting at this idea that where there is what am I trying to say, like a global like a globalist shadow society that's ruling over everybody?
For sure.
Yeah.
So you have these Masood, MI6, and our CIA. These things are all linked together very deeply, and we don't have any control over them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are linked together. Britain created Israel in the first place as a Western outpost. They are tied together, and in the case of Charlie Kirk, going back to a little religious perspective of it, he wasn't just murdered. It was sort of like a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Done very publicly to get a point across.
Like it sounded like a lot of people in our government knew that it was going to happen.
There are definitely people with foreknowledge of it. And if you look at 9/11, there are massive numbers of people with foreknowledge of it.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. That's again, I don't have a theory of the case, but that's a fact. There were.
Yeah.
But you can connect certain things, like as far as the ruling class, the globalist class, is they created that group. I'm not going to call them British, but I'm going to say that group. They created Israel, right? The same thing is that when it comes to the Revolutionary War, they enticed that one. So they kind of that's how we got our footing anyway. But it was a sacrifice. That's what Charlie Kirk was. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was to point out is you start leaving us and we're not only going to kill you, we're going to make sure everyone sees it. And then we're going to make sure nobody asks questions about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every content creator and podcaster under the sun's talking about it. So it's maybe it had the opposite effect, but
it backfired on them because they're not as smart as they used to be. This ruling class, this generation of ruling class is a lot dumber than what they used to be, than the class that founded them. The class that founded them were super smart, and now we've gotten so far this way that they think that they can do, and a lot of it's because of how stupid Americans and Western Europeans have become.
Yeah,
they become so dumb and zombified, right? I mean, you got generations of youth growing up at reading a second grade level, and so they think that they can.
This is not much exaggeration either. This isn't just.
Yeah, is that they think they could be more out in the open and hope that nobody, someone like me who specializes in specifically that class, right, would never notice. And that's something that they're trying to get away with. So when they do something like with Charlie Kirk, normally the whole don't ask questions, right? The don't ask, don't tell policy, which has worked well for our military, right? Is that is that normally it would have worked, right? That would have been it. But again, you have more people that are leaving the Israel lobby, and so it's natural that they're going to ask questions, especially with Candace Owens. I'm sorry, Candace Owens. who has such a big platform, if she starts asking questions, it's like more people are gonna start asking questions.
Yeah, well, I think she got like a pretty massive boost in followers as she's investigating this whole Charlie Kirk thing. But I've been trying to catch up on what's going on with her as I've been trying to like listen to her stuff and read about what she's been getting into. I do have two questions that you guys might be able to answer here. Okay, there was when she talked about the addresses on her show, where like the CIA or FBI or whatever is, has an office. Someone had said that she gave the address of her attorney. Have you heard anything about that? Is there any true validation to that?
You asked me that one yesterday. I'm not
Yeah, I was hoping you find out for me because I was like Googling it, but I don't know where anyone got their sources for anything. I don't know where she got her sources. I don't know where the people that are saying she's, gave out her attorney's address got their sources. So I was wondering.
I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, right? Especially with how many intelligence agencies are involved in this.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Tucker Carlson's address actually got leaked to everyone.
Yeah.
And so it's not something where it's like if I looked at it and like this was a story and I'm like, oh my gosh, like no, I don't believe that. No, I'm not surprised at all. They go to whatever lengths that they can to try and either discredit you or make sure the mob comes after you.
Yeah.
They tried to discredit her. No, I've listened to her shows again. I didn't follow her before. Started a week ago Friday. I've listened to all the podcasts since then, sort of today's. I know of two addresses she's focused in on. One was this facility, this multi-agency facility in Delaware, the airport and the hangar there. That came largely from the tip from one person, one anonymous person who works there. And that all checked out on Google Earth and other things. So those things are absolutely correct. Then you have, there were some addresses relating to the campus where Charlie Kirk was shot at. They do know that associated with the airplanes, there were 5 rental cars, and she has video. She doesn't have it's not good enough to get the license plate on. But
no, she did. She gave a few license plates.
She gave the license plates, but they want to find where those cars went to, and that's where I left it. A few days ago.
Okay, so say she figures it all out, right? One thing before I lead into that is that she hasn't posted any content at all since like Friday, so I don't know what's going on. Like she didn't post a new. Usually she does one podcast episode per day. And she hasn't posted anything today, and she hasn't posted anything on her social media pages today. So I don't know what's going on with her, but
it's actually really interesting because she posts daily, and I know you got the weekend. I know she takes a break for the weekend.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just went on earlier to see if there are any developments. So I mean, maybe I don't know what's going on. Maybe she's in hiding or something. But so say she blows this whole thing wide open, figures it out, finds all the pieces, connects all the dots. Like, what do you then do with that information, though? I mean, because especially if what she's saying is true and the multiple governments are in on this, like what happens at that point?
That's a darn good question. If you, I would say first of all, within the realm of religion, within Christianity, if this event could be tied to Masood in particular, which would mean the CIA is involved also. But if that was tied, it can be tied to Israel. And then you have this revival meeting done a few days after he died, where we're just supposed to praise Jesus and memory hole the whole thing. That's going to have a reformative impact on American Christianity. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll leave some ripples. That's a definite. But I mean, how do you though? Like, how do you prove that any of it's true? And that's the big question here.
You have to get here's some things you might find out. Just for example, what if the footage of Tyler Robinson could be shown to have been shot the week before?
Like the rooftop stuff, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know the story about the bullet that changed directions because his bones were so strong is just a absolute pile of crap.
Wait,
That's like a mic drop moment. That's
him working out every day wouldn't stop that?
Yeah, and the other guy who took
no,
that.
you work out a little harder, and you too can stop 3,000, 30,000. What it is, 30,000
It's
pounds.
between that and the guy that took the SD cards out of the camera, where they literally just gave
Yeah.
themselves away. That
Who-
there's
Who
more
is-
to it than we are.
Yeah, who by the way never went to those events, right? That was clear, is that he went to the bigger events, and he never went to the college like conversation events.
Yeah.
And the events were normally scheduled a year in advance. This was scheduled 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and this is what I wanted to lead into our final thing here, is that it's created what I've been calling the Candace Owens complex, right? Where you have this schism, like Candace Owens is saying all this stuff that may or may not be true. We don't know, right? But also what the authorities are telling us may or may not be true. We don't know. Nothing's adding up, so everything seems possible. But you have this like weird schism in beliefs, right? Where some conservatives are like, "Oh, I'm clinging to what Candace Owens says," and others are like, I won't even entertain the thought of this because it's just so outlandish. Like we have found ourselves in this situation where like there's almost like a dogmatic adherence to everything the government says. So even if something crazy were to happen, nobody would question it, and then you have the other side who is like, oh, this is I question everything. So it's a weird, like, what has happened to us. So like even if something crazy were to have occurred, everyone would be there. You'd have that staunch group of believers who are like, well, this is demonic, or like God says that, insert Bible verse here.
That's the thing, though. Like, you have Nietzsche talked about this, right? Is you had the ideas, if you go against the machine will crush you, right? And so while it seems like a lot of conservatives are clinging on to Candace, I think very few actually are. And I think the others are so hung up or zombified by the movement. That's where we're at. It's the Nietzsche complex. Is to make sure, is really what it is. It's to make sure that whoever talks out against it gets crushed, and then nobody else talks out again.
But
right? Is that if you saddle up the horses and push the whole media, and as she said, you got Mother Bird like Ben who shows up. It's like, who has the other side of that media, and you bring all of them against Candace. All of a sudden, that's the point, is don't ask questions or this will happen. It's a chill factor.
But is it just a flavor of the week, though? I mean, look at
No.
If there was a liberal president or Democrat, in office when this happened, I feel like there would be a lot more people leaning into what Candace Owens is saying versus
Nah,
now.
They would have. Let me add a little bit to the answer on that. Going back at least to the time coming out of World War II, if not farther, there are two branches of conservatism. One is the libertarian or paleo-conservative side that is distinctly non-internationalist and non-Zionist. Bold letters, underlined, emphasized. Then you have what was the new right and the neoconservative faction, which is shown on Fox News on nauseum and supported directly or indirectly in evangelical churches, that is highly internationalist. Basically, they're globalists with some conservative social values. So the old right, the paleo conservatives like me, we have been usable by the neocons, but as soon as they get power, they will throw us under the bus, and they have. And this has happened over and over since World War II. And what you're seeing now is that happening again. The Tucker Carlson, Candace, MTG, Massey, these are the paleo conservatives. Pat Buchanan, Rand Paul, Ron Paul would fit that description.
Yeah.
we're being cast aside, and pretty aggressively. The language that Trump is using is certainly not lost on me.
Yeah, it's war against us. What it is, it's that class of paleo conservative, the ones who actually care about the country.
Yeah.
You know,
We are the intellectual. We were the intellectual basis for his movement, and he's taking that and throwing it away.
Because he got what he needed out of it. I mean, it's
Yeah, and maybe he doesn't even realize that there is a difference. Reagan went through his whole term in office, didn't get it.
yeah.
yeah, but you have people that swear by Reagan. It's annoying.
Sure.
So, you know what? Even more than all the Charlie Kirk stuff, what this has really brought to light is there's a problem with America, especially when religion is being used to keep people from asking questions, to keep people from intellectual thought, right? And that's churches do the same exact thing. You go to church, and the pastor doesn't ever want to be questioned. So the pastor will use God to basically make you feel inferior enough to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to think about this because I don't want to go downstairs.
But you gotta remember though that you've only gone to Protestant churches, that's the whole point.
Yeah. So but this is the issue, right? Is that we have reached a point as a country where nobody's asking questions anymore unless it suits their agenda. But you should always be asking questions, because if you're not, that's the point when humanity is truly doomed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you not only get canceled, you lose your friends.
Yeah.
Because they're so brainwashed and so aggressive.
And your freedom.
That's part of the school system. They give you such a small narrative and very little methods of critically thinking, right? Because you know so little about what happened, and you know only what they want you to know. So again, that you can't read, you can't write, you can't talk, and you know almost nothing when you leave the school system. It's like that's a recipe to make sure that they always have a foothold on power, and they always have a group of people who are too dumb, so they'll buy the easiest thing that is thrown at them, right? Especially when you have things like, you look at like George Bush and the 9/11, let's go to war, right? When you have things like that, or the Israel thing's the next one, right? Whatever, take your pick. There's been a couple hundred examples. It's like that. Nobody's going to ask questions ever because people are getting dumber.
Yeah,
and they're since the I would argue since the 60s has kind of been that trend.
Yeah, and they're made, and no doubt that we're being made dumber too. I mean, religion's being used to make us dumber. I'm sure there's chemicals in our food and our drinks that are triggered to having some sort of a response in our brain that blocks something or other. But it's as long as we're complacent, like that's when the people in power are gonna keep doing shady things. So
Yeah.
I guess we need to ask questions, because that is the fabric of America, right? Is people asking questions, intellectual thinking. Like that was the foundation of this country. And now that it's people always talk about patriotism, America, but it's we're so far from what America was once upon a time, I guess.
And when people wake up, you're absolutely right. When people start to have an awakening of their own, it involves removing not just one layer of falsehoods, but multiple layers, and it takes time.
Yeah,
and that's
the point with like history, when they tell so little of it, right? Is that if you tell the whole story, you can't get away from talking about this group from the beginning.
Yeah,
you're right. You can't.
Right? You can't. Yeah. If you tell the entire story, moving from the age of exploration forward, and you say, I'm going to tell the entire story, right? You have to start talking about this group, this globalist group, from that point, moving on, and you have to talk about them in the age of exploration, settlement, the establishment of those markets, the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, and you got to talk about them with the war between the states, which is what gave America back to this group, right? You have to talk about them, and moving forward and on, you got to talk about them, and that's if you tell the whole story. But again,
it's revisionist history, man. We don't talk about that stuff.
Yeah, but assimilate. For bringing any of that up, for even bringing it up.
Yeah.
You should revise it though. You should be able to talk about it. The
Yeah,
fact
why
that the same narrative has been being used since the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, that's
Right, the
become
same
common
thing,
practice too.
nothing's changed. People can say that things have changed. Oh, we talked about more of this. It's like, no, that's the same story you have got.
Oh, what'd you say, Nazi?
Yeah, that's that's
That's right. That's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
name call because I'm going to throw a tantrum and call you a name.
yeah. Oh,
You know, the anti-Semitism claim is the right-wing version of the overuse of the word racism.
Yeah, but guess what? They're not even Semitic. So take that.
We can all agree that there's something weird going on with this obsession with Israel, and I don't know why people aren't questioning it, but I'm also not under any delusions that I have any power to change anything, and I'm just all I can do is speculate and then go like, okay, and then move on. So
you have the power to do one thing though, to keep your integrity and speak the truth, even if nobody listens. That's it. You can't control anything, but that's internal, and you can control that.
I'm gonna be a good person, and I'm gonna teach kids teach whatever people what I know.
Yeah, don't punch your ticket to heaven through Israel because that's gonna get not you. That's not sorry. That's not gonna get you there. I was trying to be clever and it didn't work out so well. Could have been better.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Anyone who's like downloaded the first 2 episodes or watched it on YouTube, thank you so much. Please, keep spreading the good word and share the podcast, and we really appreciate it. We're now up on Podbean. I'm working on getting us up on a few other platforms, so you can stay tuned for that. We're also on Apple Podcasts, so you can catch us there. We'll be back. Have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. We'll be back at some point if we can get our schedules organized. But until next time, guys, you got any closing thoughts here you want to end the night with?
Yeah.
Well, go to look at Dyed in the Wool History YouTube page.
Yep.
We'll get some more stuff up there. It's maybe a little more intellectual, a little more complex.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on some. That's my goal this week, as I have off, and go join Substack. Right, go follow me on Substack, please.
You're on Tumblr too, right?
No. What is this? Yeah, I get on MySpace as well, Josh. Now, go on the YouTube, check it out. We got tons of good videos. A lot of this is talking about the ruling class that we're talking about today, and we're also I threw up America's only good elite, Thomas Hannah Perkins. I got 1 or 2 videos about him, and I'm going to throw up some more again, hopefully by the end of the week. Would love to have more, and I might even throw up a conversation here with James the Elder and maybe get the reviled one on. We'll have a flip-flop, right?
Flip-flop crossover events, yeah.
And maybe we can get the blank screen there, big dog. But yes, please go join that. It's more information on this, and then throw us questions, please. Throw us questions here on Topicocalypse, right? Like I say it.
That's it. You nailed it.
Knew it. And Dyed in the Wool History, we'll be glad to answer any questions that we can, and we'll we can throw a Q&A on again like we did last time. That'd be great. But thank you. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So you can find Dyed in the Wool History on farmersonly.com. All right, James the Elder, you got any closing thoughts here to kick us off?
Oh, that's always a hard one. I will say that what we're seeing develop could it could fizzle out, or it could turn out to be very very, very significant, like a fork in the road point, a tipping point. Stay focused. There's a lot of junk going on that you get people's attention and filter it out. This topic's important.
Yeah, ask questions. Don't give up. Ask questions. I think this is bottom up movement. We got to rock and roll.
Trust nobody. All right. Until next time, it's been a pleasure. Peace.
Peace.